we are going live with the Lessons Learned podcast. Myself and Chapelmont. Welcome everybody. I know this is not the usual day. This is Thursday instead of Wednesday, but here we are. Just so you thought we want to miss this. Um, we have a bunch of news, and then we're gonna go back to our own stalking horse of Bioware because N7 month is this
Day.
month, and N7 Mass Effect month is. Some people declare this Mass Effect month
Oh,
because
really?
N7, November 7 is N7 day based on
Yeah.
Shepard. Um, and there was a sort of a I don't know. People at Bioware say, yeah, no, we're still supporting that, and yeah, still alive, and sure, whatever, and we have still like stories we like to tell. It's like, okay, you do that, but I don't know. I'm just thinking that maybe, just maybe, oops, data the information. We
Well,
had a bit of a problem when it says I was streaming Fallout 4, when in fact we are not streaming Fallout 4. So, so yeah, but we're going to start as always. We're going to start with the news, and then from then we're going to move on to the main subject. Let's start with China. All things China. China. This is from a couple of days ago, late last week. China bans kids from playing games after 10 p.m. and caps microtransaction spending.
hmm,
The Chinese government is going to impose a 90-minute cap a day for children under the age of 18, and it's going to cap expenditures, microtransactions spent on DLC and microtransactions from anywhere between $28 to $57 per month, depending on the age of the user. So we're now seeing essentially the kind of um, you know.
the start of like Chinese,
Mhm.
just how they pretty much control like the gaming or not even the gaming industries, just a lot of their industries, just how the
Mhm.
Chinese government just is pretty totalitarian.
Yeah, it is the article, and I put the link here, Discord. Does make the remark that while this all sounds very sudden, I'm quoting directly from the article, reading it, and drastic, the New York Times reports that the industry has known this coming for a while, and many games and providers already provide bake-in limits similar to those in the Chinese market. That may be true, but I think it might also tie it in with the whole fiasco with Blitzchung, right?
Mhm.
That this is something already happened. This is, I mean, we're talking about probably millions of users, so $57 top, say, in the top rank, it's still a lot of money, right, per month. They can rank in the money, but this is a clear statement by the Chinese government who's in charge again, right? And you know, and corporations like Blizzard know that, and they're like, okay, we we know this is going to happen, so let's make sure that we do not do anything to encourage them to do more of that, right?
Yeah.
I've altered the deal, play, I don't alter it for any further kind of situation. To misquote Return of the Jedi, no Return of the Jedi, Empire Strikes Back. Um, so yeah, can we expect? I mean, if China is one of the biggest markets, can we expect other markets to follow?
Maybe. Well,
Right.
especially I wonder if there are gonna be like tools kind of in place to do that. I mean, the one I guess good thing you can see is if you're pretty anti microtransactions, they do crack down on how much people are allowed to spend like per week or per month,
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
so the people aren't overspending. But I mean, like even then, like the whole like, oh, you're only allowed to pay like what was it like 3 hours per week or
Yeah.
something?
Per day, per on the weekdays, and a little more on the weekends, I think.
Yeah,
Yeah. But still, I mean, still, like it also how they're gonna enforce it. I think are they gonna actually? just pick randomly a parent, go like, "Oh, I see it's we called you at 2 o'clock and your kid is it's 8 o'clock and your kid is still playing. What the hell's going on here, right?"
Yeah.
I don't know. Maybe the video game companies they put in the controls, expect the parents to do the ones doing the controlling. And if it doesn't happen, it's like, well, we did our part, not our fault.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's a
So I
thing.
guess it's gonna depend on who the onus is, but you would think that'd be easier for, I guess, for like the video game industry to track is like, oh hey, you have been playing for 3 hours and just auto logs you out.
Yeah.
Like maybe it'll start giving you warnings after like, hey, you're
Mm-hmm.
reaching your limit per the day. It's like you better like find a good place to stop.
Mm.
And
Yeah.
then like by the time you hit that, if you're still logged on, it boots you out automatically and won't let you log in until the next day.
Mm-hmm. Uh, moving on to another, I think this is pretty cool news. Super Mario 64 Land, an enormous fan-made Mario game, is out now. Super Mario Mother Casey Emmanuel, Kaz Emmanuel, whose work we featured on here a ton, and this is on Kotaku. As a huge new project out today, Super Mario 64 Land, an all new Mario game based on Super Mario 64 that has new levels, new bosses, new power ups, and new music. There's actually technically a mod for Super Mario 64, not a full standalone executable. You'll need a ROM to play it, or whatever. That's an easy workaround. I guess that's in order to
Hmm.
not have Nintendo yank it and go like,
Yeah,
well,
it's a mod for like for what a ROM that you just have to have the ROM.
and now then you cannot get the ROM any other way but to buy it, I suppose, from directly from Nintendo. Well, that explains both how modders and indie developers are, people who are in the business sort of reviving or expanding on old games are working around Nintendo's limitations, and also
Yeah.
why Nintendo was so one of the other reasons why they were so adamant in canceling, sites that had their own ROMs, even though they were not supporting them.
It's sometimes ridiculous that fan made stuff, even if they don't make any money, gets just copyrighted or they get like copyright warnings and strikes and stuff. Like I was watching a video that mentioned that there was like some I guess like a fan made project to make like a 3D model rendition of like the Enterprise
Mm-hmm.
on the Unreal Engine, but like they got like a copyright like warning from CVS, which is kind of lame. It's like I don't think they're gonna try to sell this. It's a fan made project.
Yeah, well, with that, and this is inside on the sideways. There's a lot of, for example, modeling online of Star Wars stuff, and for a while now, there's been accusations back and forth that essentially Disney has been stealing. That different artists have been stealing from each other. Like, for example, artists that work for Marvel have been stealing designs from amateurs, and that some
Hmm.
of the new designs from Disney on their movies and whatnot come from or strangely close to stuff that amateurs have done. So
Yeah.
CBS has been notorious, especially in the last 10 years or so, clamping down all things Star Trek, right? Putting up very strict regulate rules on fan films and whatnot. So yeah, it's a thing. So I guess they want to avoid that if they use a model in the future of the Enterprise, whatever, it has a feature that is found on this fan site, then, or there's a question of actually who owns a model, somebody else who replicated somewhere else, and
Hmm.
copyright law is it needs to be revised, but every revision just makes it worse. So there's that. Talking about other stuff, John Carmack has stepped down as a consulting CTO from Oculus. John Carmack, for people who don't know, he one of the designers and founders of id Software, who designed such games as Doom and Quake. He had joined Oculus Rift as a consultant, um, but now has stepped out or stepped down in order to go into development of AI.
Hmm.
Um, so that's a thing. I hope he doesn't. I hope if he teaches the AI to be kill stuff, they just decide to kill Nazis and demons and not actual people. Otherwise, that's gonna be a bit problematic.
Yeah, so it's this like real AI and not like a digital AI. Like for video games, it's
No, no,
an
no,
actual like
no.
artificial.
We're not talking about video game AI, which are pre-programmed instructions. We're talking about actually free-form,
Hmm.
actual working AI. True Turing test passing AI, according to what.
Well, that would be interesting. I mean, it is an interesting leap from virtual reality to AI
Mhm.
in general. But considering, I don't know, would you consider the Oculus Rift a success?
Not really. I mean, like we talked about this earlier this year. I mean, I think that VR right now is stuck in that sort of niche spot where it's like it's for early adopters and people who have the money,
Hmm.
but it hasn't grown beyond that. We haven't seen the kind of growth that if this really had caught on fire. I mean, the only thing that people have selling is the cheap VR, which are just the glasses. You strap on your phone to your face,
Yeah.
and that's really just a lens. It's like it's not real. I don't call it real VR, right? It's just a lens that just warps everything. So
Hmm.
yeah, no, no. I think VR hasn't taken off, and that might be one of the reasons why he's leaving. It's like, yeah, like I did what I could, and we're stuck in a rut, and that's it. I mean,
And
some VR games have been successful, but not, we're not seeing a big leap to VR. So, or major announcements going with VR with the new consoles as well. If VR were a big thing, we would see that, like we saw with motion controls, right? Um,
yeah.
Talking about gaming and game controls and whatnot and new technology, Google confirms all the stuff Stadia won't have at launch. This is from Kotaku.
Ooh.
Well, there was a video by James Sterling saying basically that um, Stadia will have, well, a bunch of games, not a lot of games, but most of the games are just games that already have been on the platforms. None of them extremely exciting. Uh, so it seems like now that Stadia, just like VR, seems to be an early adopter thing, which may or may not be successful. Things that Here's a rundown of things that won't be available: Stream Connect, State, Share, and Crowd Play. The main features that allow players to join in on others' games and make Stadia more than just glorified remote play. Expect the first game with Stream Connect launched by the end of the year, said Andrei Dobinyov, Stadia director of the games. Also, the support State, Share, and Crowd Play will be released next year. So play anywhere but by yourself. No Stadia achievement system.
Hmm.
No, you won't have the ability to use Chromecast Ultras to play games. Uh, Only Chromecast Ultras that ship with Stadia controls will have the updated firmware required to stream games. We will be updating the existing CC Ultra over the year after launch. No family sharing. Uh, Multiple people in the same house won't be able to share games on the service until later on. But again, it's supposed to be a high priority feature. Buddy passes. Foundation Stadia is supposed to come with a buddy passes system so that people can give a friend a 3 month Stadia subscription to play games with them. Those passes won't actually be sent out until weeks after launch. Uh, Stadia control, at least for some people. Everyone who pre-orders Stadia will get their codes to sign up to the service starting November 19 and will be able to play on their phones or Chrome desktop browser with a keyboard and mouse. However, the package containing controllers and Crocker Let's Dragon chipping, we'll talk about this more. The different people are going to get different things. Um, so essentially, Stadia is looking like it's just a
Right now, it's just an
browser
application.
browser app. And considering how Chrome in its regular status just eats up your memory, oh boy. I mean, and this, I don't know. This is.
Then of course that's not even getting into the launch games.
Mhm.
That there isn't anything exclusive, at least that's really good, except for I guess there is one game that's exclusive to Stadia, but I mean even then I don't think it's gonna be worth it.
Yeah.
'Cause the way I see it, it's like you're still gonna. It would be great for people who, I guess, a certain section of people who have really, really good internet, but somehow don't have really good computer to play these games or
Hmm.
like a console, but
Yeah.
are somehow into video games. It honestly feels like a novelty at this point right now.
Yeah, and also it's like, oh, no controller, which means that if I switch to my phone and my phone doesn't have the same type of controls as my computer, so I'm playing, I don't know, Assassin's Creed Odyssey, and I'm trying to do a leap, like, oh, I'm doing it fine on my keyboard, and then press here to like what? Also, I guess if you're using I mean, that's another thing. It's like, oh, you can play seamlessly on your phone. The problem:
Hmm.
phones use touch screens. A lot of games do not translate well to touchscreen, especially ones that are designed for console use. I this is the thing. Now I see that this is a direct competition with Nintendo and the Switch. But the Switch is a console. It's a
Yeah,
down console, but it's a console. It has controls and it's proven, it has a great library and all that. So I think the people who might want to use Stadia for other things than just using it on their computers would just get a Switch for $200 and they don't have to worry about Founders Editions and waiting for updates and all this nonsense, right?
yeah, and of course you wouldn't have to worry about having an online connection or hitting a dead zone while you're out and about
Mm-hmm.
or trying to find a Wi-Fi.
Yeah. Or switching from one service and I was like, oh, I have 4G, but I have to use the regular 4G, and or long travel when something like, oh, talk about those fees because you're no longer in your home area.
Hmm.
And all of a sudden you get that will be a double whammy. You give Stadia to one of your kids because you're gonna go travel on a plane or you're gonna travel, long distance, and then when you get there, you get a message from your bank saying, "Hey, you spent $1,100 or whatever, $150 on Nevada." And I was like, but I just went to the bathroom and ate like some hot dogs. What the hell? Yeah, because your kid was playing Stadia on your phone, and well, roaming charges. Whoops, right?
Yep.
You didn't have a nation. You didn't spend the extra money on a nationwide data plan that will, and then also how that translate between your internet connection at home, which could be hardwire versus Wi-Fi versus
Yeah.
4G or whatever it is that you're using, 5G, 6G, whatever you're using. I don't. There's a lot of stuff out here that I don't think it's gonna work. But they're gonna try it, and they're probably gonna dump it soon enough, like everything that Google does. Talking about stuff not working, Rockstar pledges to fix Red Dead 2 stuttering issues on PC. This is an update. The patch balances workload on CPU cores and avoids hitting on edge case in certain NVIDIA graphic card drive that cause significant cells on 4 core and 6 core CPUs. Blah blah blah. Okay, okay. So they're working on. I don't know. And this is just, I bring it up because it's just patching culture. Next nonsense. It's like, oh, we delayed the release of the PC so we could get it going. Now we still have to patch it because we're betting on PC users not really giving a damn. And
Yeah.
always fix it later. Ah, boy.
And of course, it has wasn't a lot of the issues they kept having was it kept crashing or not working with their launcher, their Rockstar launcher. Uh-oh.
Ah,
Oh,
there's been some changes to YouTube. Talking about Google and YouTube. Kotaku, YouTube changes when you call for YouTubers to unionize. This is being updated. Let me read you the relevant paragraph, second paragraph of the link. This recently added terms of service clause is part of an update that will officially go into effect on December 10th, on about less than a month. YouTube has already made the details public. The clause states that YouTube may terminate your access or your Google account access to all or part of your service if YouTube believes that it's stability there. We'll talk about internet connections. Uh, believes that in its sole discretion that provision of the service to you is no longer commercially viable. Many initially took this to mean that YouTube might start indiscriminately pulling the plug on channels that don't have enough subscribers or aren't otherwise raking those sweet content dollars. After a weekend of uproar,
Oh, that was weird. It booted me out and then booted me back in.
oh, okay. So I was like,
That's weird.
that was Zoom. Let's talk about online problems right there. After a weekend of work, we need to clarify the verge that is not changing the way our products work, how we collect or press that, or any of your settings. Said this new update is going to focus on clarification. Certainly puts things in stark terms. Elsewhere in the terms of service, the company outright say that it's under no obligation to host or serve content. Can, in other words, remove whatever it sees fit, but that's pretty much always been the case. An ancient version of the commercially viable clause has been this site the service since last year, while the last iteration states that YouTube sole discretion to terminate access. The previous one said that YouTube it's first needed to reasonably believe it had cause to do so. Now let's look at the update. According to Michael, 6 Silverman, a representative of Fairtube and IG Metal, told Kotaku in an email that the introduction of this clause shows how necessary, relevant, and timely the Fairtube proposals for more fairness and transparency are. Uh, we have no signal so far about how the phrase commercially viable will be interpreted. It could simply mean closing dead accounts, or it could mean the closure of channels operated by groups YouTube perceives as unviable for one reason or another. Uh, and complaints about how things seem to been getting worse. Um, so yeah. Uh, so yeah, it's a thing. YouTube is becoming more restrictive every day, in
uh,
one sense, but not in another,
I
which plays into the
mean,
whole, should we trust tech companies to regulate our free online speech?
well, especially you end up getting people. It's going to create this culture where people are constantly talking in double talk almost
Mm-hmm.
because, like, oh, totally that one thing and another. Because I watch a streamer who might always say like something kind of like it's a joke. It's like he might say something. Well, I guess I'm gonna have to kill you in Minecraft because that's perfectly fine to say apparently in Twitter. But if you say it without that little thing, I guess it's
Yeah.
against the TOSs and stuff.
And to add to this, I got an email this morning about child ratings because YouTube got in basically settled the lawsuit about child content, and now it's introducing a rating system. We don't know if that to be shown in. I have to reread the email. That how suitable your content is. So you have to essentially self-rate,
Hmm.
and that's max of the old X rating, NC-17 rating back on when NC-17 is still available in movie ratings, right? Where if you could end up out, I'm sorry, focus, outrating yourself, because if you want to play safe, you rate yourself as for adults, so you can swear and all that, I guess, if you're actually talking about adult subjects. But if you rate yourself as an adult subject only thing, will the algorithm just say, "Oh, we don't want that. We want because our advertisers want family friendly stuff." So, oops.
Yeah, which is weird because I get some of my I always flag my videos on YouTube as adult, like I have an age check on them. Like I self voluntarily do that, but my videos aren't monetized. I still get like some of the ones that usually are labeled adult content seem to get a lot of the views on my channel, which is I guess just like playing to that certain audience. I'm sure it'd be more if it was more kid friendly, but whatever. It's not the audience that I'm aiming for.
Thank you, Girthy Perka, for the follow. We appreciate it. Got the announcement. It should have shown up on stream. Girthy Perka is following us at the moment. Talking about YouTube, more of that. EA staff Twitter accounts hacked after YouTuber gets banned for vulgar comments. This was on Sunday. Again, this is from Kotaku. A number of Electronic Arts employees have had their personal Twitter accounts hacked after a prominent FIFA player received a lifetime ban from official events for his abusive, harassing, and vulgar behavior. The player Kurt041411 Fennec the study of several disciplinary moves by EA for the last few years, which are outlined here in the official notice of and expanding. Basically, the guy is very angry at FIFA and uses his YouTube channel to do things like spit on EA branded cars and call the series developer cowards. Following the banning, as in Eurogamer report last week, a number of EA employees involved with recent hearings had their accounts hacked and display messages supporting Fennec, in which it was photoshopped an official EA announced to say Corto 411 had been unbanned. Of course, he isn't unbanned like we know. He continues to post slightly terrifying videos on his YouTube page, which he and everyone watching is taking a video game about football way too seriously. So that's the flip side, of course. For every time we say, "Oh, free speech," and all that, somebody who just abuses it a little bit. There's the link, Griffy Pekka and everyone else, so you can check it out. It also has a link to the complaints. So the reason why I put the links on the chat is so you guys can verify what we're talking about, and you find that we're messing it up, then it's like, hey, messed it up. We try to make a correction as soon as possible. We're not a news site, but we certainly try to as professional as possible. Which, if you look at our faces, that's bar low, but we try. We try. On some sad news, sort of, Human Head Studios is closing, but everyone's being offered jobs at Bethesda. I don't know if that's actually good news, bad news, or bad news, worse news. The Rune 2 developer is no more, but the team's forming a new Bethesda studio. Couldn't Bethesda just buy them outright, I suppose? Yeah.
Maybe.
The Human Head Studios, developers of original Prey, is shutting down. Oh yeah, well, Prey is under Bethesda now, so yeah, like
they made that horrible video game, The Quiet Man.
Yeah.
Rune.
An update to the news, is that Ragnarok, who's the publisher, has released a statement praising Shock at Human Head's closure. We found out about the news when you did. The publisher wrote, the publisher I promise to continue support of the game. So they were working on Rune 2. Wow. I mean, this is one of those situations where the publisher doesn't own the studio, right? They just have a publishing deal. And they were like, oh, you guys closed doors. We didn't know about it, but we have a contract. And yeah, this is going to get messy. Although if Bethesda's offering, this is the thing, if Bethesda's offering them jobs, and they're basically opening a new studio under Bethesda, shouldn't Bethesda just buy out the studio, or and just get it over
instead of it looks like there's formed a new studio under Bethesda Softworks, Roundhouse Studio. So the only thing I can think of is like they want to clear any kind of association with like the Human Head Studios, whether it be financial or reputation wise, maybe.
Probably financial. I'm thinking because this is a way of dodging a lot of money that they probably owe certain people out there.
Because I'm looking at their list of games, Brink, which I've heard was okay, but it's really underwhelming. And of course, there was The Quiet Man, which I find interesting because they also made Defiance. That was that weird, like it's supposed to be some sort of sci-fi MMO that was somehow tied into a television show, and I guess certain things.
Sci-fi channel.
Yeah, and it was supposed to be like if certain raids and stuff happened and large scale raids and stuff in the game would kind of might affect the TV show somehow. I don't know how well it worked out, but I don't think it worked out very well.
No, the show I think lasted about 2.5 seasons, and the game lingered on for about a couple of years, and that was it.
I don't think it's been defunct yet, but I don't think it's one of those games that's probably all that well known.
I'll have to watch the next Death of a Game.
But I guess it's kind of interesting because it seems like they were delving into mixed media, because The Quiet Man had a lot of like live action video to it. And I guess it was experimental in a way, but it wasn't very good from what I saw.
in a way, it's a return to the old, full motion video games.
Yeah.
Well,
But even then, it was more like video game movie. Like essentially, like it made the same mistake as Quantum Break.
uh well, I mean, I wish them best of luck, but they're working for Bethesda now, so. And there may be,
Yeah,
for example, there may have been division between the people who founded the studio, right, as well. That not
that could
everybody
be
wanted to
too.
make the leap to be. It could have been easily that they did. Okay, this is a scenario. You're going to put a scenario. There are many reasons for this. But a simple scenario is that Bethesda made them an offer, right? They were probably in financial trouble, they were not doing well, or they were just keeping ahead, floating, and somebody either from the studio or from Bethesda reach out to the other and say, hey, you know, we can buy you guys out. And probably one of the founders say, nah, I don't want to be Bethesda, and so what are we going to do? Well, if enough people want to just secure their jobs, especially the employees, are like, well,
Yeah,
we want the paychecks to keep going. They probably sold the closed the studios, divided the assets, and everybody took their last paycheck if there was enough money around, and they went over to Bethesda, and that
yeah.
clears a
That's
hurdle that you don't your the IPs and all that are not up in the air, at least hopefully.
yeah. So it's they didn't file for bankruptcy or anything. That they it's just like, well,
No,
yeah, we're
well,
just closing down.
probably there was some financial problems, right? I mean, how many times studios, especially midline studios, go under all the time, sadly. Um, that doesn't justify microtransactions the way I see them. Many people use that as justification, but there you go. Um, Talking about a studio that actually successfully left, well, actually, no, was left behind, I suppose. Uh, Studio 343 announces that Halo Reach launches on December 3rd on PC.
Hmm.
That's on the Microsoft Store. Not Steam. It's supposed to come to Steam. It
Yeah,
doesn't
I
say
thought it was
when.
supposed to come to Steam this year, like
Yeah, the
the whole
collection.
Master Chief collection being released like slowly.
Yeah, well, here's the thing. Let's Halo Reach is the first of the Master Chief collection.
Yeah,
I guess they're doing it
it's
sequentially, because they
yeah, chronologically in
chronologically.
terms of the timeline and
Yeah,
not chronologically of game
yeah,
releases.
because Halo Reach is the fourth or fifth game in the series, I think. Oh, yeah, it's the fifth because it was Halo Combat Evolved, Halo 2, Halo 3, Halo ODST, Halo Reach, and then you have Halo 4 and Halo 5, and I didn't play Reach. I'm looking forward to it, but this is from personal experience. Do not use the Microsoft Store. I wasted $68 because they would not do they would not do they wouldn't give me my money back, even though when I downloaded the game from them, it just completely messed up my machine. So
Hmm.
don't. If you're already using the Xbox service on some other thing, yeah, fine. But don't for the PC. I would not. My personal suggestion is don't use them. So I mean, it shows that this is going ahead, of course. And I will probably play it if I can. But yeah, interesting news. Uh, the new.
It's actually, that's sort of an interesting trend I've been seeing because
Mhm.
you got this the Halo Master Chief Collection on PC being released stagnated, and so another company that's done this recently is the Sega with the Yakuza 3 to was it 5? Like
Mhm.
3 to 5 series. They You buy it as a collection, but you don't get all 3 games all at once. You get like the 3rd game and then, months later they'll release the 4th game and then months later after that they'll release the 5th game.
In a way, they're using the games as sort of a pseudo DLC, right? In a
Yeah.
sense. I mean, but with those games, I suppose that you're still getting at least one game, right?
Mhm.
And the game exists. It's just a matter of whether or not they will make the conversion, right? So it's better than a DLC or a pre-ordering a game that doesn't exist. Right? And if they have a good track record of releasing games for it, and I play the Yakuza 2 right now on PC. They're fine. They're great. I mean, I've had a lot of fun. Love that twist at the end of Yakuza 2. It was like because I never seen anybody play before. It was like, got me there, game. You got me there. It's a cheap shot. I would not have it see again, but you got me there. I actually got invested in the characters enough that it was like, oh, here, that's. Hmm. It was a genuine surprise. It was cheap, very soap opera. I'll admit it. Normally, I wouldn't fall for it, but I did fall for it because I actually was invested in the characters. And I didn't play the whole
Uh,
Majima side game, maybe one day, but not today, kind of situation. But yeah, in that sense, I would sort of.
it's sort of like I argue. I think video games and to some extent visual novels are going to be our generation's soap operas and and romance novels.
Yeah, pretty much. At least their stories, anyway.
Yeah.
So let me see if we have any note things. I'll keep walking ads. Oh well, yeah. Ninja Theory has a new game, Bleeding Edge, gets a March release. Um,
Ooh.
so one of those games
Their
like that.
first release after being bought out.
Mm-hmm. Here's an yeah, Eurogamer has more information on the close of the Prey
Bleeding.
Dev Humor had studio shut due to economic realities. Uh, after 22 years. Wow. And so yeah. I guess yeah. When they say that's speak for well, we're not making any money, so we gotta close our doors, right?
Yeah, I mean, I guess it's better to close your doors while you have no money
Yeah.
versus closing your doors when you have a lot of debt.
So yeah.
Because I mean, I guess whoever still owns the rights to the studio would still keep retain the rights to like all the IPs and stuff. They wouldn't get
Depending, well,
lost.
we've seen this before, where you have different publishers and different things, and you have different rights over the IP. So and since the
And,
publisher didn't was surprised, I guess they still have the rights. Ragnarok still has the right to publish Prey the next game, so we'll see.
oh,
Um,
yeah, I kind of think back to like the Odd World studio.
mhm.
I don't remember what they called it. It seemed like they took a sabbatical from video games for a long time before they started releasing like remasters and stuff.
Yeah, that too. So I think that's all the news, unless you have anything you want to talk about before we jump into the main subject.
Oh, I got nothing else to add.
Well, um, here we go. We're going to be talking about once again our favorite studio, Bioware, and one of our favorite, the favorite franchises, Mass Effect. Why are we talking about it? We're talking about it because Mass Effect is talking about it. Well, Bioware, people in Bioware are talking about it. As you might know, if you don't, well, you're about to be told. N7 Day is on November 7th every year. However, the last Mass Effect game that dropped was 3 years ago, or more than 2. It was Andromeda, and Andromeda about 2 years ago, Electronic Arts announced that they will not be supporting Andromeda outside of multiplayer. So essentially, if it wants to be, you know, differential as
Yeah,
opposed to the
there.
studio, the Mass Effect is on ice.
Yeah, what a surprise! They'll keep supporting the live service aspects of the game, but not the rest.
And to be honest, I don't know Effect.
If they're still supporting it.
Yeah, or how well it's doing. So my let me see. This is from 2007. The articles I'm finding on art are from 2017, 16. Yeah. This is another reason why we're talking about this. BG 24/7 Mass Effect concept art shows ideas that haven't yet been brought to life. To celebrate in 7 Day, Bioware shared some lovely Mass Effect concept art. Bioware general manager Casey Hudson took on Twitter on his 7 Day to share some concept art of Mass Effect. And in the Twitter said, we have many ideas for things that we want to do in Mass Effect, so much concept that hasn't yet been brought to life, and so many stories yet to tell. And that's the problem. The art looks great. I love the art, and in fact, it seems to be like original Mass Effect art. Like it has the original SR1 and all that,
Hmm.
which is cool.
Well, so doing just a quick Google search, it looks like the last update they've had for the multiplayer on Andromeda was actually last year, last year's N7 Day.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, so not even nothing for this year.
So aside from launching some skins for Anthem, which is not doing very well as well, I mean, probably making money, but not as much. And Andromeda not being updated in a year, you know. The question is, why is I mean, why is Bioware talking about this at all? Why is Casey Hudson taking to Twitter, not simply saying, "Hey, happy N7 day," and just letting it be like one of the voice actors? They always do that, but it's like, no, 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 we have ideas and concepts we haven't dealt with. What's the point?
That's trying to, I guess, trying to keep the just the just the franchise out there, just kind of like, oh, don't forget about this franchise that you guys all love, and then we
Yeah,
can't do
but
anything with it.
that's unnecessary. I mean, the only people gonna care are people like us, people who are fans,
Yeah,
right? And
a lot
everyone else
of
is like, oh, that's a game I played or heard about, and if you release a new
yeah,
game,
it was pretty good.
they'll look at it, right?
Yeah.
And that's it. I mean, EA has had franchises on for decades, and we have games that have been, you know, um, because it just doesn't it's close to but doesn't smack of abandonware. I mean, it's similar to the idea of what happened to Duke Nukem. It's like, oh yes, a new Duke
Hmm.
Nukem, and then when it came out, but there, we don't have any heard of news of anybody working on anything on Mass Effect. So this is even worse than abandonware in the sense like, or vaporware, where it's like, we're working on something, maybe, but we'll get it to you. It's like, no, we have some ideas that we haven't explored, and wouldn't it be cool if we had more of those ideas sometime in the future or in the past or whatever. It's so vague, but so it's not for the fans. I have a theory, and this is yet another nail in the coffin of Bioware. That this is Bioware reminding Electronic Arts that they still have value.
Oh, I didn't even think about that. It's like, oh, hey, look at all. It's sort of like, hey, look at all the fans that love us. Don't kill
Yes.
us.
Why did EA buy Bioware? We talked about studios that get bought out. We're talking about Bethesda and the developers of Prey and Rune. It's because of the IP. And EA has a long history of just deep sixing their studios, but keeping the IP. Whether they use it or not, or give it to another studio, or whatever, they just keep the IP because in their minds, that's a truly viable and worth thing. So here, I think the message from Bioware is, look, we're Bioware. You bought us because we had KOTOR, and we had Dragon Age, and we had Mass Effect. Remember when you paid all that money to Microsoft so you could get the full control of the IP? Don't give up on us now. I know that Anthem is not doing great, but we could give you another Mass Effect, and we're working on Dragon Age or whatever we're gonna call it. So hey, don't fire us. We're still here, even though a lot of our staff has left over the last 3 or 4 years. But and the president's
Yeah.
quit, after Mass Effect 3. But don't matter. We're still around, and we like your paycheck. Thank you very much. Question is, will it
Yeah.
work?
Mm, that's a good question. I mean, Anthem is pretty much. Let's just face it, it's dead. I really don't foresee them pulling a No Man's Sky on Anthem at all.
No. And the benefit of No Man's Sky is that it had a multiplayer function of sorts, but it was primarily a single player game.
Yeah.
So you could modify it and all that without worrying about maintaining such a large ecosystem. But that's not the case with Anthem. Anthem is a live service maintained, and they're still working on making it work. Talk about
Just
they're not
the
working on
core
new so
features.
the core features because we got those and we got the thing with the work because we didn't do the work right because we had no time. But we spent 6 years making the game, but we had to change our mind. So here we're gonna fix it for you. We're fixing it for you. We're still fixing
Especially
it.
since in the past 2 months, like, 2 heads of that are leading Anthem have quit and left BioWare.
So
So
it's
right
like,
now, we don't know who's steering the Anthem ship.
yeah, and it's like, and the thing about life services is like life service is essentially like a ship of Theseus, right? You keep
Hmm.
thinking, changing stuff until it becomes unrecognizable to keep it afloat. But the basics of that ship has never been concrete to begin with, so they're still working on that.
There's still a leak in the hull somewhere.
Yeah, they launch a ship and it's like we're sinking. Yeah, but we're still in the bay. Okay, good thing this is shallow water and we're settling
I
there.
know
So
what'll fix our sinking problem. Let's get a new set of sails.
yeah, and we float the ship again. And do we go back to the dock? No, we got to keep on sailing because our boss is still that we have to go out there, right? And it's like it's just a mess. Yeah, I think that's the thing. I think that's what the message, especially when it comes to Casey Hudson, right? Because anybody could say this, right? But it's Casey Hudson who was heavily involved in Mass Effect, and project lead on the whole three games. Basically, his if anybody can be considered to be the auteur of Mass Effect, would be Hudson,
Yeah, it
for
would be
better or for
Casey.
worse. So many people say for worse at the end. Um, and now he's director of Bioware. I mean, he's the boss, so it's like, yeah, we still have value, but it's kind of cynical to use the audience to convince your bosses that not to get fired
Yeah.
without actually saying, publicly, we need your help, keep Mass Effect alive.
We need you to show your love and support our way for Mass Effect.
Mhm.
Otherwise, there may never be another Mass Effect.
But they don't want to say that because they want to say that Mass Effect is alive and well. We've been,
Yeah, it's fine. It's fine. There's no fire. It's
yeah.
fine.
But again, it's not even. I mean, again, if they want to keep Mass Effect alive, where you could do other things. We talked about doing spin-offs and tie-ins and all that, tie-in novels and iOS games. You could release something other than just art, which again
I
smacks
s-
of like they're getting no support for this whatsoever.
I you know they can easily hit a lot of their core audience by just releasing like a really quick and easy like visual novel they can just slap together. Like
Mhm.
romance options. Like that's all. There you go.
Yeah.
It's done. There you win. That will just win people over. And for AAA studio, that has to be super easy.
Relatively
Like
speaking,
compared
yeah.
to like a lot of people I see putting out visual novels nowadays are small like people with very small fandoms and very minimal resources. So they're constantly building it up
Hmm.
over time.
Yeah.
But BioWare can just they can pull a like a Colonel Sanders dating simulator.
You would think, but I think the problem we've seen this in a couple of articles talking about Andromeda and Dragon Age and all that is that because of both how Bioware works and its relationship with EA, especially with and I would hate to see a visual novel on the Frostbite engine.
No.
Press F to shoot somebody in the face because this is a first-person shooter engine, and doesn't do dialogue or anything. Well, sure, let's do that. Uh, you know, um, and also the fact that because they're so committed to something like Anthem and Dragon Age, they're like, we don't have anybody to spare. I think that's why they
Yeah.
haven't done the remaster. Uh, I think
And
that's another way. You can release and remaster all the
yeah,
games, right?
and honestly, like I don't think BioWare needs to be really involved. It's you can outsource something like that.
But I think particularly Casey would want to be involved. You know why?
Yeah.
Because if they can outsource that, what's the message?
Hmm.
We don't
Uh,
need you, BioWare.
yeah.
We don't need BioWare to do whatever we want with Mass Effect. I mean, already Andromeda was chipped it up to a quasi BioWare's, studio, which no longer exists, right? Which
Well,
was
it was, and even then they did outsource. Then
they
they outsourced the animations and stuff to like some third party
within
like
the
European.
Indian and European developers, but that was within the larger EA ecosystem, right? And also the whole idea of one Bioware as well, which apparently hasn't seemed to work well, right? Where you can just take people and put them in projects and like, oh, you're working on SWTOR. Well, Bioware Magic now. You're teleported magically to Edmonton, so you can work on this. And like, but I'm doing this other. Okay, fine, whatever. You're paying me. I don't want to
And
go broke, so.
I was thinking about this last night and not in relationship to Mass Effect, but right now I'm playing Final Fantasy 12, the Zodiac Age for the PlayStation 4.
Mhm.
If no one knows it, there's like there's like class system that was added from the original.
Hmm.
The one thing I was kind of hoping for, because I have no I'm new, I have nothing, I know nothing about this game and how the classes work. So I just kind of pick whatever class combinations seem right.
Hmm.
And I'm kind of like, oh, I kind of wish I could respec some of the characters. Guess what? I can't respec the characters because their first intention was like, well, we wanted people to commit to jobs, but lo and behold, I Google how to respect your characters. Apparently, this year's re-release of that game they added respecking
Hmm.
mechanism to the game for the Nintendo Switch and the Xbox releases.
Hmm.
But nope, can't be bothered to patch that in
Hmm.
to your previous releases because it's like I don't think it would be that difficult for them to do, but why would they bother patching a game that they released a year or two ago when they can just, hey, why not, well, if you want to be able to respec, why not just buy the game again?
Yeah.
and
Uh,
and that's a lot of what I'm seeing. Like, I'm scrolling through their Bioware's like Twitter, and
hmm.
most of it's like, hey, tell us your favorite thing. But a lot of retweets are like from companies, from third party manufacturers. They're like, hey, look, celebrate N7 Day, buy merchandise. So it's like, hey, I almost feel like at the end of the week, they're gonna go to their overlords EA and be like, look how much money we earned through licensed merchandise and stuff
Yeah,
because
but
of
again,
N7
if
Day.
they were to do that, if they're very easy for you to go like, oh, so you're no, this is not a viable IP anymore, other than to just milk it for whatever. Okay, how much money have we not won in an anthem we expected to? Okay, well, you're gonna close the doors, and we're gonna have another studio called, Space Wave Studio somewhere in, in Alberta or somewhere in the wilds of Canada, and maybe near the Arctic Circle, and these guys can make the remake of the original Mass Effect, and we get the cash, and we don't have to spend too much money. How about that? Like, but that's our IP. It's like, no, 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 no. Used to be your IP back when you were Bioware independent studios. But remember, we paid a lot of money for you, and we paid a lot of money to Microsoft in order to get the full rights to this game. So we get to decide what to do with it. So yeah. Ah.
uh,
Mm-hmm. You're
and
like,
of course, let's face it, like, aside from Casey Hudson, who from like the original, any of the original trilogy, and even Andromeda is still
I
there.
think the main writer, Kabisky, is back with the studio. No, he left to do D&D stuff. Someone else. I think one of the other writers.
What's his
That was him.
face? Mac Walters is
I
still
think Mac
there, maybe.
Walters, I think, is still around. But not much everyone else. So it's, I guess Casey Hudson is basically begging to keep his own job because
Well,
he was the
yeah.
guy who got brought back
Honestly,
to write the Bioware ship, right?
yeah. Honestly, though, like, for Mac Walters, no other studio is gonna touch him after the whole Mass Effect ending thing.
Yeah, that's
He
not gonna be.
he's like Casey Hudson left BioWare to go work on the now dead Xbox HoloLens thing, which wasn't a game or anything; it was hardware. And guess where the only other place he got a job was back at BioWare.
A higher paying job, mind you,
Yeah,
but still, it's like he bounced back like a ball.
like, well,
So,
he can't. He came back because he came crawling back because nowhere else would take him.
yeah, I
I mean, it could be true that he wants to go back because he loves the studio, but like,
uh,
really?
I think, it's very difficult. We should avoid trying to psychoanalyze people we haven't never met. You know,
Hmm.
that's a big asterisk on this
It's
conversation
just,
right
it's
now.
more of
Yeah.
a reputation thing. Like,
Yes, that is true. A
would
reputation thing.
would anyone hire David Cage or Peter Molyneux?
Yeah. People
Like,
still
if
why people still kind of work with Peter Molyneux, but Peter Molyneux has to basically try very hard to change his tune and not to Molyneux things the way he used to do. Even though sometimes he still falls back into that, I guess. Yeah, I think it's just Casey Hudson just sort of begging his EA bosses not to fire him by by way of dissolving the studio. Because without Bioware, they don't have any need for him. It doesn't seem to, if he got brought back to right the Bioware ship that was astray, and Bioware ceases to be, then like, well, we don't need you anymore, right? I foresee basically what's going to happen is, well, people were saying that about Dragon Age Inquisition, and they said it about Anthem, um, that this is just a series of dice rolls, right? And every time it seems Bioware rolls a lower and lower number, right? That they had a couple of hiccups with Dragon Age 2 and the ending to Mass Effect 3, and I was like, we're stumbling. Okay, let's keep rolling and die. And Dragon Age Inquisition sold very well, but we now know the backstory to it, which was a big mess behind the scenes and still had problems. It wasn't really the game it should have been. It should have been a more contained game in many ways. Even though
Hmm.
I myself played a lot of times, I'm not going to play it again. I just got tired of it. But I did play it quite a bit of times. So I did enjoy it. Um, and with Andromeda was like, we roll an even number, and it's like we're here. And now Anthem was like, we didn't finish it, and so it seems like it's like a bad night at the at the D&D table where you're like, oh, we roll a 20 and 1920, and then we roll a 17 and then a 15 and a 12. We're like, oh, you're getting pretty close to killing that death save. Your character's gonna die. You're like, okay, just keep rolling and rolling and rolling, hoping that Bioware magic is gonna hit up again, and maybe there's no confidence in the new Dragon Age if it actually
I
comes out at all.
Well, especially because we already heard that it got essentially internally canceled and rebooted
Mm-hmm.
already.
Yeah, more than once, I think. At
So
least
it's like,
once.
oh, you're we're seeing the same issues that uh, we know happened with Andromeda was that they had no direction, no vision for the game.
Yeah, and hoping that everything would sort itself out eventually. And also calling things like Project Dylan, right? I mean, it's I mean, not everybody is a fan of Bob Dylan's, but the fact that you're comparing your game to a famous rock musician, right? It's like it's gonna be a piece of art. I like the stuff that Bob Dylan does, and it's like, well, next we're gonna call it Beethoven. We're gonna call it I don't know,
Beethoven, Bach.
Bach. It's like, what are you gonna call it next, right? Uh, and yeah, I don't know. I mean, at this point, I'm not gonna. It's like the best thing I think what Bioware would do would just sort of keep a bit of radio silence. I mean, they've been. That's the weird thing is like talking about radio silence. They were radio silent on Andromeda when they needed to have to be, because people were hankering for answers. But now they're talking up Mass Effect, even though nobody's asking them to do it.
Yeah.
To quote five times as quick, the title of the Forbes piece on Mass Effect's N7 Day now feels like a dead friend's birthday.
Oh, yes.
Hmm.
I'd have to agree.
I mean,
Oh god, it's like seeing a friend like Facebook remind you of a friend's like birthday on Facebook when they're dead.
yeah, it's like, oh, this friend I used to know and had a good time, and they're detailing everything we talked about. Act One, Andromeda, Act Two, Anthem, Act Three, The Presence. Act One should have been, the end of Mass Effect, but that's still, a sore point with a lot of people, and it's still a sore point. That's another thing. Have Mass Effect? I mean, has Casey Hudson and others actually learned the lesson because they still to this day hold the greatest artistic integrity of the ending of Mass Effect? They haven't gone back in that. Maybe they're not keep harping on it, thank God, but
Mhm.
it was like, well, you know, we did we did
We did
okay. We
nothing
were
wrong.
great. Nothing happened. It was like people were just complaining because they didn't understand our vision. It's like,
They don't understand our vision.
and I said I didn't understand the game ending. I was like, and when I finally understood what was going on, I was like, I wish I remained ignorant because good. I mean, there is such a thing as a happy ending model.
Hmm.
It's just saying. I mean, and the gist of the happy ending mod is that they remove an entire piece of the ending. Like, oh, this is the butt part. We just take it off, and now you have a happy ending. And like, it's not great because it's still based around. It's a mod of the original ending, and there's eventually the extended cut, which I'm not very happy with. A lot of people are, but I'm not one of them
No,
because I'm
I
a
am not
curmudgeon like
either.
that. But it's like, yeah, and there's still DLC and all those things, and maybe, I mean, we already talked about a spiritual successor. The Outer Worlds feels a little bit like a spiritual successor of what I was able to play of the Outer Worlds. Uh, and there is certainly a hunger for a Mass Effect style game out there. But I don't think, I said this before, I don't think it's going to be Bioware is going to deliver it. I think their time has come and went. I'm hoping for somebody else to take on the banner.
Well,
Maybe one day we'll see an announcement from the makers of Mass Effect, or the former
I,
developers, the studios of Mass Effect. We have,
spiders. See,
spiders or
let's
something.
let's let's wait. Let's wait for spiders to kind of step up their game and try to make a Mass Effect ish game.
Well, they seem to
I
be
mean,
improving with each game
yeah,
slightly. So hopefully, the learning curve. I would play a game like that. I mean, hunkering right now for playing a sci-fi Mass Effect style action RPG, and
yeah.
there's not a lot of them out there except for the Outer
I mean, they
Worlds.
have Mars Warlogs and the Technomancer, but I really wouldn't recommend it if you're expecting something Mass Effect-y.
No,
It's
no.
no,
I was even
it's
tempted to load my own Mass Effect game from Steam, but then I realized all the mods I would have to put into it in order to make it
mm,
work, and I'm like, do I really want to make sure that? Hmm, no, no, I don't want to. And that's another thing about Mass Effect. Outside of three, I suppose, I don't feel like you have to play Mass Effect as a trilogy, or at least the first game by itself. I can
yeah.
never just start a Mass Effect 2 unless I have a solid recent, a recent save game. I don't trust the save, my, save editors, save game editors. They're useful, but even though I said the trilogy was a failure, it's still a trilogy, and it
Yeah.
kind of works like a trilogy. And so, again, only time will
It's
tell. But I think it's time, Mr. Hudson. I sorry to inform you that yeah, time to move on.
yeah.
Let us
It'll
let us
only
all move on.
pretty much only lived in our hearts with fan art.
Mhm. And the occasional fanfic, you know, or give it to someone else. Maybe just give it to someone else. Give up to someone else who can go back and just start from the beginning or something. Which I wouldn't envy anybody to do that. That would take a singular set of minds to do it, but not Bioware. I think Bioware has moved on, and there is no going back. Nor should it be. Things times change. It was a game that was series that was singular for its time, and we got to move on. So that's all that. So let's put Shepard's skeleton back into the closet. I'm waiting to get the coffin ready for them. And Chapelmon, where can we find you on the interwebs?
You can find me at Chapelmon pretty much everywhere. I am Chapelmon underscore on Twitch and Twitter, but you can find me primarily on YouTube under Chapelmon.
And of course, you can find me here playing most of the time, playing games on a weekly series. I'm thinking either going for Party Hard, just for a night's entertainment, or go for Ruiner. So if you would like to suggest the next game I should play, you can join the Discord. We have a Lessons Learned Discord. You just put it on the ask on the chat, and we'll give you the link. And of course, we have a weekly podcast by Chaplain One myself, where we talk about video game news and other. Thank you everybody for coming, and we will see you. Bye bye, everybody.
Bye.